All right, I think we're on. Hello, Ace NextGen Nation. How you guys doing? I am Dale Ting. I'm the chair of the Ace NextGen National Board, and I am here with someone really special here named Bing Chen. But before I get to him, I'll introduce myself a little bit. I am, of course, on the Ace NextGen National Board. I have an e-commerce store called regalbeagle.biz. One of the raffle ticket prizes is mine, and you're not going to be very happy with it because it's just a cleaning product, but it's one of mine. Um, so I sell a cleaning product. I sell household care products, and really love boba. Thanks, Andrew, for the shout out. I've got his boba gift cards here. I also have some 7 Leaf stuff here. I also have my own boba sitting right here, but I don't want to drink too much of it because I'll be hyped up on caffeine and I'll be talking faster than Bing when that happens. So enough about me. So we have on today. Hope you guys all enjoying this virtual conference. I think it's kind of funny because it's kind of fitting that NASA actually had a launch as well a couple hours ago with their rocket getting astronauts back into space since the last space shuttle. So they had their own relaunch, except theirs is literally a relaunch. We have our own here, and I'm here with the founder of Gold House. He also used to be the YouTube global head of creator development. I pulled this right off of his resume, and he's on the board of advisors of many startups and involved with many nonprofit boards. Please welcome Bing Chen. Bing, how are you doing?
Hi, Dale.
I love how I say please welcome, and I'm used to like applause, but this is different because it's
there's no applause in space. No applause in space in lockdown. Don't sell yourself short on the cleaning products, yo. Didn't you see what happened at Costco in like Q1? Like everyone wants your stuff.
Yeah, I know, it's great. You'd think that I'd be in a great position, but I ran out of inventory, so I'm waiting to get stuff in. But
this is a good problem.
But I also sell boba straws now too. See these boba straws, the same ones that that boba guys uses. It's really cool.
Amazing. Is it made of bamboo or not? Yeah, what is
it? It's a bamboo fiber type thing. So again, enough about me.
I love that.
So here, Bang, we have you here today. So I actually have met you a few times before. You're one of the OG people at the Ace NextGen, the conference like 4 years ago in Vegas, right?
In
so
Vegas,
it's grown since then.
Yeah.
Congratulations, brother. My experience was that.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. Well, my experience with Bing, if you guys don't know him, is he talks really, he puts a lot of words per minute when he talks, but each one of these words are very packed with value. It's not like he's just spouting off. He's talked with a lot of value with each one of the meeting with each one of his words. And to me, it feels like when you go to an all-you-can-eat buffet, but not one of those like cheap ones. It's like if you true. Not one of those cheap ones, but like if you go to the Bacchanal in Vegas and everything is like good. That's what I get when I talk to Bing. So I set you up for this. So hopefully you can deliver on our buffet here.
I was gonna say now I'm gonna fall short, but thank you for overhyping me.
Anyway, so Bing, you are the founder of Gold House.
One of.
That's like the thing. And was that?
One of them, yes.
One of the founders of Gold House. Can you tell us a little bit about what is Gold House in a few sentences?
Gold House is different things to different people. To some people, we're the colloquial benevolent sort of Asian mafia. To others, we are a vehicle to support Asian creative film and their opening weekend success. To others, we're the white POV Asians. But in short, we're just trying to be sort of this Geneva-like convening power that helps all Asians thrive, whether it's an accurate representation or in bolstered success.
It's interesting because I went and looked at it, and your mission looks like it's everything to everybody. But then you actually are a very strategic thinker. I can tell you're very strategic. You take this big mission, then you split it off into 3 things. And in each one of these 3 things you have 3 sub things as part of Gold House, right? You have Gold Open, you have the A100, and then you have the Gold Rush. And then within those things, you've got more things sub. I mean, is that how you think? Is there strategically, like in your mind, is that how you think?
Yeah, I mean, I can share with you what our phase 1 plan looks like because we're almost done with it. We're about to embark on phase 2. But
okay.
So the reason it's so broad is like we basically realized there's no Asian analog to the NAACP, the ELC, and so forth. And if you look at those organizations' charters, like they're all very complex. And so the question is then what's the sequence through which you're executing against that very broad mission? So this is not from my mind, by the way. This is from like the minds of 300 people who are way more senior and smarter than me. I think I'm just like the most junior person and have no shame and don't care what most people think. So I've just been like charged with like spanking this to come together. But the strategy is actually fourfold in phase one. So one is we realized the most influential Asians did not know each other and were not fluidly transacting with each other. So they weren't investing in each other, they weren't talking to each other, and that's a fundamental problem in our community. So one is we have a set of scalable and subscale efforts to help basically Asians collaborate more meaningfully. Now you can see very quickly, Dale, the deficiency of this. Like this seems a little elitist, right? And to be sure, it is. And the purpose of that is having built the largest creator ecosystem at YouTube. I know that when you try to build these large networks, you have to unfortunately often begin at the top because there's just so many resources that you can Robin Hood from them to then benefit the masses. So if I can call an editor in chief, we can suddenly get a lot of people on the covers of magazines, which will employ more Asian writers, so forth and so on. It's just a faster way to get things done, even though it's not the only way. So anyway, so that's one. The second, third, and fourth are the Trinity, as we call it, that you talked about. So the idea is that how do we, number one, enhance representation at a systematic level? Two is how do we sustain that bolstered representation through commercial success? Because unfortunately, green is the only thing in this world that makes it go round. And then third is how do we leverage these assets to enable other communities as well to thrive? Because if we just build for ourselves an island, that is counterintuitive to how humanity should be cohesive. And so within each of these, there are supply and demand vehicles. So within representation, our demand engine is known as Gold Open. We can elaborate if you want on why we chose film and Gold Open and so forth, but that was created with 20 different people in San Francisco. The supply side is we've funded 5 different Asian-led studios, including my own, which is legally separate. And the idea there is we just want more of our stories to be told, but then also our people to lead in telling different types of multicultural stories. Transaction, we have something called Gold Rush, as you just mentioned. That's the demand side effort. It's sort of like a Y Combinator for Asians. You're going to see some material action there, particularly on the investment side, to tease it in the next 2 quarters. And then the final piece is unity. So unity is where the A100, All Americans, and so forth sit. But the idea is how do we forge sort of meaningful and consistent relationships with other marginalized groups so that at some point we can collaborate and leverage, our activism for something palpable like voting or the census completion.
How do you come up with all this stuff? Like you talked beforehand, we were just chatting up. You'd rather talk about ideas because you're an ideas person. How did this idea come up? And did you just like, were you just, having dinner with somebody, like, oh, we should do this, and you drew it up in the back of a napkin? Or, I mean, how did this? What is the story of how this all was born?
Yeah, so this is where we say, like, I mean, Gold House is something everyone has wanted for a long period of time. So this is why, like, if I wanted to be a pig, I could say sure. Like, myself and like 20 others. Yes, we organize most of it, all, but like all that's BS because everyone's wanted this. Everyone's wanted like an Asian mafia. So because of that, there's been conversations like this in different pockets for different people, right? So in my personal experience, myself, Kevin Lin, who founded Twitch, who's vice chairman of Gold House, Janet Yang, who's the highest ranking agent in the academy, and then director John and Chu of Crazy Rich Asians. We were in a room one time, like 3-4 years ago, and we were looking around and we were like, why are the Black and Israeli community like also supportive of each other and Asians hate each other? Like, this is like not right. And of course that was very anecdotal, but over time we realized we should actually do something about it. Other people had similar conversations. And so yeah, we spent the first 6 to 9 months because I wanted to make sure we built this from the ground up, a meeting with 300 of the top Asians around the country. So it's CEO of the NBA, president of Hous, editor-in-chief of Allure, designers like Prabal Gurung, I mean, you name it, right? And the question was, carte blanche, if we were to build the Asian mafia, as vague as that sounds, what would it look like? And by no coincidence, everyone said the same things, and they are by no coincidence those 4 things I just mentioned. So yeah, that's
How do you
effectively
how do
how
you
it
come
came.
up with these 4 things? I mean, do you just like dream about this at night? I mean, this is like so well thought out. Everything is so strategically
Oh,
thought out.
thanks, man.
How do you just does it all come at once? Like, do you just like
You know the answer to
go
that.
all at once, or does it come up like over a couple weeks and in a shower and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, so you know the answer to that. Like, there's no magic wand, or like, everything seems obvious and compartmentalized in hindsight, but it's certainly a progressive and undulative process. And so I think like Einstein used to believe the highest form of intelligence was synthetic. So sort of blending, conceptual antipodals together, and I think this is no exception to that. So on one poll, we got a lot of feedback from 300 people, having built again, or had exposure to networks at YouTube. Like I know everyone wants the same things, they just talk about them differently, and I've seen it at the highest level in creative. And so this should be no different. Even though we have 50 ethnicities, hundreds of dialects, we're all here to do the same things: live longer, be more successful, love each other, all sorts of things. We just, again, it manifests differently. And then on the other side, like you also bring in expertise of how networks can actually be built and sustained. And then, of course, when you fuse them together, you have an incredible team, which we're lucky to have. 70 amazing people all across the country, all across generations, ethnicities, genders, and so forth. You have something special.
So
But you know
what is
that,
your
dude.
favorite gold? What was that?
You know that, though. You know how these things work.
Well, yeah, you gotta. I know this, but you have to tell everybody else
Oh, fair
that's watching
enough.
right now.
Oh, fair enough.
What is your
It's so
favorite gold
lonely
open
here in
story?
space. Oh, my favorite gold open story. I mean, it has to be the first, right? Like, actually, no. I'll give you a second. So the third gold open movie we supported was Searching, by director Anish Chaganty, starring John Cho, and produced by Sev Ohanian and Natalie Kasabian. And what happened was it was so organic. We're way more buttoned up, and we're a real system now. Thank God, we have a 17-person gold open team nationwide. But back then it was super hack, and so basically a week before Crazy Rich Asians came out, I noticed there was a movie called Searching coming out a week later, and it was an indie film. And I was like, this is going to send a really bad signal to the market if we only support one big film and don't support an indie film. Because the real reason we're doing this is for indie film, right? And so, because that's where sort of new voices are going to be cultivated from our community. And so, anyway, so I Facebook messaged Anish Chaganty, the director, and I found out he's actually a former Googler like me, which I have. I'm very fratty, and so I love groups and affinities and loving people. And so I was like, dude, like the fact that you left the mothership where it's so safe and cushy and then are executing creative at the highest level, like we have a responsibility to show corporate people that's possible. Because I think we're all obsessed with the romanticization of like you're 19 years old and you start your own company, you become Mark Zuckerberg. But that, as you know well, that's a gross exception to the rule. Most of us have gone into major corporations and we're just scared to leave. And so I wanted to demonstrate there's some sort of paradigm that this was not only possible, but you could thrive. And so Anish was like, obviously, like, he probably thought I was like crazy and not real. But anyway, he's like, all right, go talk to Sony. Fast forward, we can't share numbers, but we are a dominant reason why Searching, what was, or one of the dominant, I should say, reasons why Searching was successful opening weekend. And now Anish is a very good friend. Anish actually, he gives me notes on my own franchise I'm working on. And so I just love that because like it shows the power of like as much as you hack like organic communities coming together to deliver real transactional results that then can make greater successes. And so
I just love the fact that we had Crazy Rich Asians come out, which is huge, but you had
yeah,
your eye on that second person right after them. I mean, I love the fact that you
yeah,
you really like you saw the under the radar kind of potentially left behind kind of thing, and you jumped on that. I mean, is that
we
kind of
have
like your thing?
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we have to. I mean, you know this well, like especially like Ace Next Gen. Like the problem is when you build anything that is desirable, everyone suddenly wants it. And I'm not implying that like everything we built is desirable by all, but like the reality is like, do I want to help everyone? Of course I do. Like my life dream is to make everyone's dreams come true. As cheesy as that sounds, there's no question. But I'm also pragmatic enough to know like you can't support everyone at once because there's a sequence through which these things have to happen. Like if I go out and support every single indie filmmaker now, like I have a day job. Like most people think Goldhouse is my day job. Goldhouse is not my day job. Goldhouse is my Batman job. Like it pays me nothing. I do it at night. I get as much love and hate for it as Batman does, and that's it. And I work on it all throughout the night. And so I think that the challenge is like, in order to support everyone, we have to build certain systems that will be able to sustain themselves so that eventually they can support everyone. And I think a lot of people, and for no bad reason, just don't have exposure to that. Everyone thinks they're entitled to everything yesterday. And so, for all the great films we support, Parasite, The Farewell, like Blinded by the Light, etc., like we have also like maybe an equal number of films who are upset with us for not supporting. And so the best thing that we can do in a lot of this is one, we're very transparent about our criteria. So we're very consistent on it too. We never faltered from it. And so if you look at our website, you can see what we support. We're very transparent about it. And then, it's the hope that we can get to a point faster where we can support everyone because all art does deserve to be supported. It's just a time and bandwidth challenge. Yeah.
So why film? I mean, you said we could get into that
Yeah.
later, but why did you pick a film in this medium?
Yeah, so in the visual media arts, film is the high art. So publishing, TV, and so forth, as wonderful as they are, as well as TV is doing, everyone looks to film because there's a different level of prestige. It's to be a little bit pig. It's why there's this trope between movie celebrities and TV celebrities, right? And so we figured out that if you can actually game or sort of build a successful system around film, that there will be trickle down, trickle over effect to TV and other industries. And so the beauty of film is that it's actually highly predictable. So for the average average film, 70% of their total sort of lifetime box office revenue comes in the opening weekend. Second is opening weekend is everything, because if you don't perform an opening weekend, you don't have further longevity, right? Third, which was really encouraging to me, and I'll bring another stat that I think will benefit Ace NextGen on this on the startup side, but Asians are actually the second most frequent moviegoers in the country, period, right behind the Latinx and right before the Black community. Moreover, 50% of the box office is driven by 10% of moviegoers. So you can triangulate the math there and see Asian really matter in the box office. And so we thought,
I got some friends that
like,
watch a lot of movies.
there
So
you go. See,
yes,
no,
you're right there.
exactly, right? Yeah, and I mean, also, like, even outside the box office, and you know this, like, we are the highest streamers of all content on every single device across most categories. So there's just a lot of reasons why this makes sense, and focus really matters, because all big things start small with one thing. And so anyway, so film, like, Gold Open is a bona fide success. Two of the four highest performing opening weekend films last year were Parasite and The Farewell, mostly not in English. And Gold Open is a dominant reason for that in the Gold Open community.
Mhm.
And so anyway, so that's that. But that we'll see where we go from there. We how does this? The team is about to start supporting more rigidly streaming projects, partly because of where COVID is, but also partly because it's time. We've also been looking at books and music. I can't share too much on that now, but the punchline is, like, we're thinking very thoughtfully about how do we support sort of other mediums, but then also upstream creative, because as you know, many strong novels actually do become TV books and all that. Yeah, and we hope it continues. Like all things, like, this started really small. It was actually Andrew Chow of Ace Next Gen as well, was one of our first buyers.
You went on
Us,
before, yep.
obviously. Yeah, and for Gook was that people think Crazy Rich Asians' first one was actually Gook. So it was Andrew, Kevin, me, Harpreet Rai, who runs Aura Health, another Asian founder. And yeah, like, now look where we are. We put millions of dollars in the box office. So that's that.
So Bing, you alluded to your day job before. What is your day job?
Yeah, so I can't share half of it, but the short is I'm trying to build the new Walt Disney company. So the half that I can
Wow.
share is that we were working on, for the last 4 years, my first original franchise. So it's a trilogy of trilogies. So it's 9 parts. It's novel based. The first phase of the fourth one, so it's like A New Hope, has a novel, a TV show, a bracelet, a podcast, a comic, a soundtrack, and then a few other things we can't talk about yet. And it all launches synchronously. Phase 2, my film studio will hopefully produce it. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so that's part of the day job, and then there's another half of the day job I can't talk about yet, but it'll launch in the next few quarters. But
You always leave us with this. Well, I can't talk about this. It's like cool. It's
oh,
a
sorry, I hate
cliffhanger.
to be
Just like
that
telling
guy,
story.
dude.
No, it's great.
No, I hate to be
No,
that
I
guy.
think it's great. Do you have an art background, like a storytelling, journalism background, or I mean, it just seems like you've got that love for it, and you've got this natural. I'm going to set you up, and then I'm going to make you. I'm like, hang on to you, kind of thing.
It's no, I mean, it's twofold. Like, one is, I was a creative writing major in college, which I lied to my
Okay,
mother
there
that
it
I
is.
was until day of graduation. Yeah, no, but like, art has always been my love, and like, I've always been obsessed with the Walt Disney Company, and in terms of how it's structured, I've always been obsessed with Oprah and narrative, and this all sounds irrational, but words, for whatever reason, just like are my kink. And so, like, there's nothing hotter to me than someone who's really articulate. And so anyway, so that's where that comes from. And then second, in terms of cliffhangers, like, I hate to be that guy, but like, my style,
But
my
it
mother used to say,
works.
I don't know. It's not my intention though, because I think, like, I don't know. I mean, I speak fairly rapidly, and my vocabulary is like somewhat elevated, and so I think people think I'm like overly methodical on everything and like that. And like, that's just not the case. Like, I'm just here. I'm from Tennessee. Like, I'm just here doing stuff. But the cliffhanger actually comes from my mother's philosophy. She banged this into me in middle school. She said, you want to be lightning, not thunder. And the idea is that, like, lightning is much more powerful than thunder, by the way, in terms of its electric power. And so she said, you never pre-announce things. You always have to let the work speak for itself. And if the work is good enough, you should never have to say a thing. And so my style for everything is always like, let's just launch the thing, and then we will gas up the rewards. Like, even to Goldhouse and our team, my message to all of our directors is always, let's develop the absolute best and most unique thing in the market. And if you do that properly, like, we'll run a press cycle around this, and the rewards will be there. So one good example that touches the Ace Next Gen world is our new founder accelerator known as Gold Rush, which is led by Megan Ren and Miko Chen. Megan ran the last one, which is focused on food and beverage founders, including, I think, some people in Ace Next Gen who are part of it, and did a phenomenal job. And so because of that, like, she actually just had an op-ed in Adweek, which was like insane for someone her age, never happens, just sort of positioning her as a thought leader and everything. So again, it's the work first, and then the work earns us the right to package, promote, etc. Our incredible people. So it's more like that, dude. The other philosophy is like, I don't know. I was like, not to go back to middle school again. Middle school is very formative for all of us, but like, no, my mom used to say like, there's two types of people, like those who only exist because they announce themselves, and those who exist because others announce them, like royalty.
That's good.
And she's
Your
like,
mom
you
sounds very
always.
wise.
Oh, she's super fucking smart. She's the best. But no, she's like, you should always be the latter, because if you have to explain yourself and announce like what you're doing, then your work is not good enough, you know? And also like people think you're full of yourself and like all that sort of
Mhm.
stuff. And so it was much more like, you know, have good enough work that it's worth talking about by others. Now, obviously the deficiency there is, well, what if people should talk to you and all that? But I don't know. I think we're both beyond the age where we can care about things like
That's
that.
right.
like who
Exactly.
cares? Yeah.
Exactly.
Um,
Now, you used to work at YouTube, which is really funny to me because when I talk to you, that you working at YouTube is like the secondary thing, which it goes to show how big of stuff you're working on now. But
Oh, I
like
wouldn't say that's
in
just long
YouTube,
ago.
what did you learn at YouTube that you bring over to your entrepreneur endeavors?
Yeah, so much. I think the biggest lesson is that we are more similar than we are different. And I know that sounds so bullshitty. Like I hate when politicians say that, because I always think like, show me the data where you can like quantifiably justify that. So I have the data that justifies that. So in 2011, 12, I scaled the partner program, which is the comprehensive suite of services for YouTube creators, from 33,000 creators to basically available to anyone. It's now like millions and millions and millions. We got to 13 million in the first 15 months, and it became $400 million in run rate, all under my sort of me and my team. So it was a material thing. And when you're trying to scale something up that dramatically, you obviously can't serve everyone equally, because a musician in Bangalore versus the Walt Disney Company in Burbank versus XYZ in Berlin, like everyone is so different. And so we conducted quite a bit of exhaustive research and wasted candidly a lot of money and time, to try to understand what like all these different profiles that people would want. So different regions, different categories, and different sizes of companies. So individual influencer all the way up to Fortune 500 meeting glom. And we basically learned that everyone wants 6 things in descending order universally and in the exact same order. And so that reconciled for me, for the first time. I was like, wow, like everyone really does want the same thing. They just may talk about it or execute against it differently. So the sort of hackneyed illustration of this that I often invoke is like when a musician and a comedian host events. A musician's event is called a concert. A comedian's event is called a stand-up show. But they both involve physical venues, concessions, tickets, lights, and so forth. They're both still an event. You just may talk about it, and it may execute in its nuanced way slightly differently, but fundamentally it's the same thing. And I think our species is that as well. If you research like the Harvard Grant study and so forth, however biased they may be, like all humans basically want strong familiar relationships and impact. We just may talk about them differently or manifest. um
Yeah.
so yeah, that's
So
funny.
so what? So you also we're at a couple of minutes left here. Two more questions.
Yeah,
One,
sorry, I hope this isn't boring.
you're on the board of advisors for many startups, right? What are some of the themes or pieces of advice that you give them that kind of like that you kind of give over and over again? And then also, how are you helping them pivot in this situation? And maybe this is more for all the other business owners we have that are out there.
So let's do second first. So in terms of pivot, so luckily, most all my actually now all I can say is all my companies have incredible CEOs, and so they were ready for distributed work. They saw this coming. The ones who needed some near term capital have basically like started selling product that are COVID related, and they're obviously not being exploited in this, but they're using that as near term revenue, and I applaud them for doing so. The other companies, to be honest, and I think this is the best test of mustard, just as it was in 2008, 2010. My best founders are actually doing even better. So one of my companies,
Mhm.
Titan, which is a hedge fund for the masses, even though they charge you to participate, their numbers are actually experiencing double-digit growth right now, and it's the highest growth we've ever had. And so, which makes no sense, because a hedge fund plays a long-term play. It's not near-term capital or near-term gains. And so, anyway, so I think again, like the thing that founders need to remember, and this might be tough love, is many of the most successful startups from the last decade were actually able to weather the 2008 to 2010 recession. And by no coincidence, you also saw a lot of the most successful sort of VCs. They actually started investing right about 2010, because they got all the best deals at a discount. So if you have built a real company that is meant to last, you will endure this period. If you have not, then you will not. The end.
So
You
build a
know,
company to
and
last right now,
correct.
basically
This is the best time
from
to
the
build.
beginning.
Like yeah, I'm a very like like scarce resource like mindset guy in terms of not like zero sum scarce, like that kind of mindset. I mean, in terms of like build as much as you can with as little as you can. Like
Hmm.
people think Gold House, for instance, is like filthy rich and like we have a huge that we have
It's
like
called
no
Gold House.
money.
I mean,
Yeah, well, it's also called Gold House. That's deceptive. But like we have like no money. Like I have access to a lot of money, but we we run on nothing. And despite that, like we've done what we've done. And so I'm a big advocate of that. Because if you can do that, imagine what you could do when you get your raise.
right.
So anyway, so that's number one.
Yeah.
In terms of yeah, go ahead.
All right. Look, I'll get finished. I got one last one for you.
Okay, no, I mean in terms of
Mhm.
advice, like you know this well. Startups are about two things: do you have the right people, and are you executing? The end. And then after that, it's just timing and luck. So and like there's all these other like secondary, tertiary pieces of advice, but like candidly, I find a lot of those confusing and like no one can remember all those like frameworks. Like it is, are you working with diligent, good-hearted, ethical people, and are you executing consistently? And if you are, you will probably have something interesting. Yeah,
That's cool. Just boil it down. Those two simple
yeah.
things.
Life is
All
simple.
right. Lastly, and most importantly, what is your vision for the API community, and what can we do to contribute to it?
So I don't speak for the API community, but I would
Mhm.
say honestly, the biggest thing we need to do is we need to support each other and support other marginalized communities right now. There's still way too much shit talking in the Asian community and like sort of like backstabbing and all. It's all this weird shit. Now, if I can be a pig, like the good news at Gold House, we've earned the right to ice people out now. So if you're not down to not necessarily work with us, but if you're not down to support your brothers and sisters and everyone in between, we're gonna ice you out the end. And like I know that doesn't sound like the political diplomatic thing, but we have so much momentum and there's so many wonderful people doing such incredible work that we just don't have time for any of that. And then the second thing is and this now gets into phase two of my Gold House plan, which is cross-cultural, cross-continental support. But we cannot build an island. It is our responsibility to engage the Black and
Very true.
Latinx, particularly communities, yeah, and start
Especially
to
now.
fortify
Yeah.
exactly
Mhm.
and start to fortify influence that is sustainable. So we're working on three different things right now, specifically for the Black and Latinx community. We've been brewing one of them for a while, but we have an essential responsibility here. And this is not about charity, right? This is about you're a human being and that's how things should happen. You have to support your fellow human. But secondly is imagine if our three communities could open up theaters together. Imagine if we could also vote together. And then imagine if we could push policy together. Like that's why we do this for the long term, right? And it sounds transactional, but you will find that we are more concentric than we are different across minority communities.
That's great. Great stuff. So, how do we get involved with Gold House? People that are interested.
Oh, just go to goldhouse.org, see what you like, and then sign up for our newsletter, and then DM us on anything. We're Gold House Co on every platform. We love collaborating with everyone. We collaborate with pretty much everybody in some capacity, and so yeah, and hopefully everyone continues to grow together.
Well, Bing, thank you so much. I am full of all the good wisdoms you've got from our little word buffet here. We can probably head off and get some dessert.
No
Good
dessert,
stuff,
Dale.
Bing.
Summer is not
Oh,
canceled.
that's right. Trying to
No
lose,
dessert,
trying to lose
dog. You're
some
trying
weight,
to
right?
lose weight. Yeah, you got 5 more to go.
That's right. That's right. So, thank you very much, Bing, and hope you guys all enjoyed that. Um, we'll
And if
take it
not,
from
I'm
there.
sorry. All right, congrats, Dale.